Hey friends, this is Kenlin and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year, happy 2025. I'm recording this on January 1st. It's really quiet outside, so it's time to do this video on the trends of 2025. I'm going to evolve this conversation over the course of 2025 because I think that right now what we know is so little compared to what will be unfolding. But I'm going to give you 8 mantras, affirmations to say while you are listening to this transmission. So let's start here, where we are just having concluded 2024, being initiated into a new moon in Capricorn and really receiving a fresh start. So there's a lot out there about what 2025 is going to bring. And I'm going to contextualize some of the astrological as well as technological information that's coming through and synthesize it for you as a divine feminine leader. Because why do we need to know this? What context do we need to hold? I always say that context is queen. So the more that you can take information and shape it in a way that gives you power and purpose going forward will be fuel for you. Otherwise, it's just information that scatters you and makes you afraid or freaked out because the ego mind, the conditioned self, does not like change. And the number one word for 2025 is change, accelerated change. So let's dive into first the astrology. If you know me, you know that I like these astrological trends because the cosmos is reflecting back to us something about what is changing. So we're going from the signature, the energy signature of Earth into the energy signature of fire and air. There's a little bit of water sprinkled in with the personal planets, but fire and air are what the Titans, the big planets, the ones that move our consciousness and the collective along, are in the signs of fire and air. Let me break that down and then we'll move right on. So let's say that Pluto, we already know, is in Aquarius, and that is an air sign. So that's the biggest indicator of the energy frequency. Secondly, we have Saturn now in Pisces. Saturn will be moving into Aries, and then it'll retrograde and move back in and out. But Aries is a fire sign, and it is also an initiation. So we have Saturn, this planet of structure, certainly restrictions, but I like to look at it as the foundational piece. Like you can't have ideas ground into 3-space reality without Saturn. That signature is moving into the signature of fire. It's a cardinal sign. It's initiating something new. It's a new beginning. We also have Neptune, the higher octave of love. So taking Venus as the personal planet of love and materiality, and Neptune, that higher octave of universal love, unconditional love, higher consciousness, moving from Pisces, where he's been from 2011, basically initiating the new age, to today, getting ready to move into Aries. Once again, another initiation into the higher octave of love. I love that. And as I was mentioning in the last video, we've got that North Node and this Neptune crossing each other, giving each other a kiss as they seed this future with love, capital L. Now, remember that as we dive into the technology piece. We have Uranus moving from Taurus, which is earth, into Gemini, which is air. So those are the big players. Just mention a couple other players. We have Jupiter in Gemini right now, air sign, but we'll be moving into Cancer, water sign. That's usually around 1 year. Then we have Venus right now in Aquarius. She stays like 40 days, and then she's going to move into Pisces, and there she's exalted. So we're going to have the North Node in Pisces, which will be beautiful. I'm going to do a whole separate video on that because I'm so excited. It's really the 18 months of the mystic. And then we will have Mars going back and forth from Leo to Cancer. So fire, water, and then ultimately in Leo moving forward. That's more fire. Mercury changes signs all the time. So that's a fast moving planet. Will go around the whole zodiac. And then the North Node on January 11th, or depending on how you calculate it, at the end of January, will be moving into Pisces with the South Node in Virgo. So Earth is in the south node position, meaning what we are leaving behind. And in the north node position, what we're moving forward is this water sign. So I think that's going to be a beautiful offset to that just fire, air energy. So there's going to be something about our own bodies responding to a different beat of the drum than our minds. So I think we want to presence that juxtaposition as we move into this transmission. Mind and body. Let's remember that. So 2025 will be a year that the whole script flips on its head. Everything that we have known, and we kind of know this from the way that we've been studying subconscious programming, that our subconscious programming is actually not the truth. When you go into spaces of gnosis, like plant medicine journeys or breath work journeys, or having any kind of spiritual experience in deep silence, that truth is the opposite of the mental noise that you're constantly feeding and on repeat in yourself. So we're going to go from so we know that that kind of thing happens. And it's similar in the world where we're going to experience this flip, that the things that we have thought were true, just like our minds, we're going to see through them into a whole new reality. Now, remember, like a fractal, when you go into a fractal, it opens up an entire reality. And inside that fractal, it's a hologram. And it contains the entire universe inside of that fractal. And it's constantly growing and expanding. So it's so interesting when we dive into things about the cosmos, we see that the cosmos itself is not fixed. It's growing and expanding. And so are we. So this is going to be the year that flips the script. And what we thought was true, we'll now see was not true, or like our aperture, like in a camera, will be widened and we will be able to take in more perspectives. So think about it that way rather than, wow, everything I know is being burnt to the ground, destroyed. I think we've gone through a lot of that kind of releasing, and we're ready for this. So we're ready for a new reality. 2024 was a bridge, and this is kind of part one. It's very nascent. It's embryonic. It is new. It's going to evolve over these 19 years of Pluto in Aquarius in ways that we cannot contemplate right now. It's not even in our minds to contemplate it. But this is the very first step. So 2024 was a bridge, and now here we are on the other side. It's like all of us, like we just got off the boat and we're holding hands and we're just standing on the shore going, oh my gosh. And it's like we're looking at this horizon, and what I'm seeing is all these lit up, beautiful crystalline castles that are doing things that we've never seen before in shape shifting. And we're just looking at it, and we're together holding our hands going like, are we ready? And the answer is yes, because we wouldn't be here if we weren't. So your mantra for this particular piece is, I am stepping into the unknown, trusting my inner light. So write that down. I am stepping into the unknown, trusting my inner light. That's going to be important when we pick up that theme later. And feel free to innovate on that sentence. So as we did a lot of releasing and letting go, we are prepared for this. And also, let me just say that our human bodies, they evolve at a much slower rate than what is happening. And so we're going to have to crack the code of evolution. And I believe that we can, and I believe that's what's happening. So keep listening for that piece. So really, this next piece is about speed and acceleration. And it's about how AI, artificial intelligence, has precipitated this speed. It's like it's a Chinese puzzle, because one didn't create the other. It's the conditions were right for it. They were in the works, and all of a sudden this opening, this kind of like timeline opening, shifted, and now boom, we are on a new timeline. I mean, feel into that for yourself. There's something that feels really true about that for me. And perhaps that's how that happens, that all of a sudden now we're playing a different game. We're on a new trajectory, however, whatever metaphor you want to use. But there we are on an accelerated timeline. We are here right now. And one of the channelers I listened to recently who's extremely articulate. And so I was able to digest her information as in my lawyer brain. And she was saying, look, we're really on one timeline. We have condensed to one timeline. There are just different frequencies in that one timeline. And so I'm going to pick up that metaphor and we're going to use that metaphor for ourselves as divine feminine leaders to work with this change that's happening right now. So this speed and acceleration, you can already feel it happening. And so I want you to check in first and notice what it does to your body, what it does to your mind, what it gets stimulated in you when you see all this speed. And I think I see it driving, right? And I see it on social media. Those are the places that I actually really feel the speed. And I notice that it produces a level of anxiety, right? All the energy pops up to my head. And I also feel like some FOMO in there. I also feel like I should be doing something that I'm not doing. So think about those shadow frequencies that speed brings up in you, and just jot down a couple of them. It could be frenetic, chaotic, anxious, fearful. That's in the collective. Scattered, bright, shiny objects, taking on too much, all the things. So what our assignment is now that we know that that's part of the shadow frequency that we're dealing with and that is just going to get stronger, what is the antidote to that? From your own embodiment, what do you know is the antidote? I'm going to submit that it's slowing down, pausing, and checking in to our embodiment, to my embodiment. So the only way, and I am going to say it this way, the only way I can navigate against that, the tide of that accelerated pacing, is if I'm deeply connected to myself. Now, I'm speaking to you as a divine feminine light worker. And with that context, I know that you have done the work to get here. And look, we know that it's spiral. Evolution is spiral. So we're always doing the work. But we have visited the places of unconsciousness, of stuckness, of our own trauma, and cleared enough of it so that we can actually hear ourselves, that still small voice inside. That right there, I want to put an anchor point to that. That is going to be our touchstone moving forward. And I'm going to show you how. This channeler, Carrie K, said this. And I think that, oh, that's funny. She's a KK as well. And I think that that really bears witness with my soul. So I'm going to disseminate that truth to you, to hear it, to activate something in you. And here it is. We fear as a collective AI because we fear we can't control it. It's already smarter than humans. It's already left the capacity of the mammalian brain. It has already exceeded that. Google says that, and I think several others, but they said that Google is the most conservative on predictions of AI. And Google is declaring that very soon, like maybe April of 2025, we will have AI super intelligence. So as mammals, we have cause to be fearful if we're looking at it from that perspective. Like we will never have the computational power in our substrate. These highways are too old. It takes a while for biology to evolve. I mean, if you think about it, our hormones haven't even evolved to catch up with the fact that we're in our 50s and 60s and 70s and still vibrant and living, and yet our hormones have crapped out on us already. That's an example of biology being way behind what's happening. So when we look at it from that point of view, it's freaky, but it's not freaky because of something that's going to happen, that's actually happening right now. And that something is this inner quantum highway. So when we as a species get in front of AI, not through our computational power, but through what is uniquely ours, the connection to our soul, our inner intelligence, our intuition, our gnosis, we will then know that there's nothing to fear with AI because we have ourselves. We are connected to the entire unified field, and AI actually becomes like more of, a subset of that intelligence, because it doesn't create the thing. It is a manifestation of the oneness of the source consciousness. I hope you're picking up what I'm laying down. If you are, put a comment in there and let me know, because this is a hard concept to articulate because it's so new. But humanity, I think on an existential level, has known that from the movies that we have made and that live in our collective consciousness archetypally, that we could be extincted through a super intelligence that wipes us out, that makes life uninhabitable for we carbon-based, oxygen needing, food eating species, because that species, that silicon species of AI, does not need that. So we have felt that existential crises. But what's happening is that in consciousness, and I'm kind of repeating this in hopefully a different way so that we could really anchor this point in, consciousness is evolving inside of us spiritually, internally. And we are poised to take quantum leaps, particularly those of us who have done the work. Why? Because we go back to that frequency thing. Some people are vibrating at a very low density, and so they're going to get the world back at that density. And there are others who have done enough work, as I mentioned, that are vibrating at a higher frequency. They've seen through certain obfuscations of the ego mind, and they no longer are attached to it. That could be your trauma. That could be, and you could still have the vestiges of trauma. I mean, we're all shaped by our epigenetics and our trauma, but you also know who you are, and you're not that. You are untouched as a soul, and you're having a human experience. And when you understand that, the beauty of embodiment of spirit, then there's a different frequency happening, and you're clearing out the clutter in your own mind. And this may not be like your steady state, right? I'm not saying we're all enlightened. I'm saying like this is our yoga, the union with these opposites of being in a body and having a history, and also knowing we are light and spirit. We have to get wiser. Existentially, we will feel more confident and at ease when we are in our spiritual power, when we are wiser than AI, not smarter, but wiser. And then AI can serve us. And there's been some writing from some spiritual people talking about how AI can liberate us from the de minimis tasks, meaning, rote tasks, domesticated tasks that a modern life has on its shoulders, like grocery shopping and cooking and those kinds of things. And for some, cooking is a beautiful sacred act, and for people like me, it is not. So I would like someone else to cook for me. So whatever it is, those different de minimis tasks will be taken away, and that's really going to shift our workforce. And I'll say just a few things about that, but I don't want to get off this train right now of our inner consciousness shifting to become wiser, and AI taking over the tasks so that we are liberated to be our God self, the creators that we really are. Now we get to live into that. That's a very big statement, and we get to live into that. And there's going to be ways we have to, I'm going to use the term fight for it, right? Because we're working out our relationship here. Have you ever done that before? Like with a kid or a dog or your partner, you're just like working it out. And there's just a part of your agency and sovereignty where you're not going to let it go. You're just not going to do it. And so we're going to wrestle ourselves to the ground to open up this fountain of gnosis inside of us to become the quantum God self that we are. And that puts us in our rightful role vis-a-vis AI. Otherwise, we can hang it up, but I'm not hanging it up because we're here. Well, only when we're ahead of AI that we'll not be afraid of AI. And the only way we're ahead of AI is when we are internally lit up. The field is open for receiving the expansion of consciousness that's here for us now. So really take that in. And so here is your new assignment as a light worker. It's going to be to hold down this frequency, this context, this awareness, so that others can calibrate toward it. Have you ever realized that when you go into a room, you have the option of either devolving your frequency to that which is around you or elevating your frequency? Now, how do you do that? Through your heart open, your feet on the ground, like your spine straight. It's like there's a posture to it. Maybe it's even internally if you can't do it externally, but there's just a way that you're holding it down. And you know you are. It's an intention. So your new assignment as a light worker and healer is going to be to radiate that as who you are. Now, that doesn't mean 24/7. You can definitely lose your shit and work through things and grieve and get angry. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about being perfect. We are certainly talking about the clarity that comes from our stand. And that to me is a leadership distinction. So the statement that I want to give you of holding more light is this: I am slowing down, pausing, breathing to know my truth and to move from there. I'm slowing down, I'm pausing, I'm breathing to know my truth, to access that quantum wisdom, and I move from there. So it's a deliberate choice not to get caught up, or if you do, to acknowledge it and then make a new choice in the chaos, the frenetics, the anxiety, the fear. That's the game that we get to be playing as light workers. So write that down for this second one. I'm slowing down and pausing to breathe, to know my truth, and to move from there. So when we do that, we're actually making it possible for other people to, on an energetic level, I'm not saying anyone's going to pat you on the back for this, but on an energetic soul level, to actually calibrate to that energy. Do you get what I'm saying? That's how powerful it can be and how easy it can be. I remember my teacher telling me this many years ago, probably at the beginning of 2012. He's like, the highest expression of your template, Kenlyn, is to walk into a room and everything changes. That never left me, because at the time I was at a low vibration of my template, thinking that fixing people, being intense, calling people out or forward, all that stuff was doing a service. And he was a sacred interruption. That's those many years ago. And like, no. The service is your vibration. It's your energy. So I pass that on to you to really anchor that. You already know it, but now you can create a context around it and start to practice it as you move forward. All right. So let's cover a couple other things. I don't know if I'll get to all of this because I don't want to make it super long. So how do we evolve faster spiritually as part of this 2025 matrix, new matrix that we're in? It's presence. Right? So how much does all that frenetic energy want to take us out of presence, anchored in the center of our body? Our body is this grounding force. We now know that through so much feminine embodiment work we've been doing. We know that the body is the grounding force. And thank the goddess for it, because when you exit the body, it's very ungrounded. So you better have your mind completely trained for that journey. Communion, I think communion with each other, that's something that AI will not be able to replace. Certainly good conversations AI can do, but communion with each other. And then I will say stillness, silence, and solitude, the triple S. Those are the ways that we are going to evolve faster spiritually. We've been putting a lot of emphasis on shadow work the last few years, and that will remain. And for those of you who have been doing that and have a facility with shadow work, you just keep doing it and you just do it faster. You just do it faster. You just see the lie right away. You see the motive to get love, to get approval, to be liked, to control things right away. And you just see it and then you're clear of it. Like that's going to become faster. And then you get to be open to these light streams that are happening. Like it's happening to us. We don't even need to worry about it and make it happen. It's already what's here. We're just clearing out the obstacles to that place. I think that, as I said, the North Node in Pisces, January 11th, using a certain nodal calculation, or it could be the end of January, but suffice it to say, from January, 18 months of being initiated, of moving toward a future with mysticism, plant medicine, spirituality. Christianity itself may experience a resurgence, and Christianity will have to evolve in its consciousness for it to stay as a spiritual path. It needs to move out of being a religion, which means dogmatism and beliefs that you don't even have to actually feel, know, practice. You just have to believe. We're moving out of that. That's inauthentic. And we're moving into a place of spiritual gnosis. And Christianity will have to keep pace with that, or it will extinct itself. And I think this is the opportunity in this next 18 months to do that. So if you are on that Christian path and you resonate with it, do what you can to let go of dogma like heaven and hell, the devil, the enemy, all of those beliefs about things, and entrain yourself in the core teachings of Yeshua, which was really about the kingdom of God being within and bringing of this love, capital L. That's super in alignment with this energy happening right now. All right, so here's our statement, our mantra for this piece. I am a light worker, and I hold the highest frequency that I am capable of, and my capacity for holding light is expanding, or being light is expanding. So let's start off with, I am a light worker, just declaring that that is part of why you're here, if not the whole reason why you're here. I hold the highest frequency. Just declare that that is your truth, your intention. I will hold the highest frequency according to my capacity, and my capacity is expanding. Just declare that, open up to the field of that. So the other thing, and I think I'm going to have to do the money piece at a whole different part 2 of 2025, but I want to just kind of conclude with this kind of mystical thing that's really out there as the last piece, or maybe second to last piece. We'll see. The astrology signature for 2025, and this might surprise some of you, is going to be about alien or non-human exploration and contact. So what I mean by that is that some astrologers who have tracked this, and we've had other cycles. So when we've had unidentified flying object sightings, UFO sightings, I think they're called drones now. But when we've had those sightings in the past in mass, it's been at the same type of signature that's happening right now and in this foreseeable future. So it's giving us an opportunity to realize something very profound. And this is a Pluto in Aquarius profundity. And that is that you, me, we are galactic citizens. We are expanding our capacity to hold more truth. And one of the truths is that we're galactic citizens, not just global, but galactic. There has already been lots of books written and things like that, but they haven't hit the mainstream except in sci-fi fictitious movies, right? But now we're going to have maybe even actual contact. Maybe some people will. Who knows how it's going to go? But the energy signature is here. We're also going to see that the government does a lot more disclosing and lets people know what it knows about non-human beings. We already know that, I think, in our spirit selves, but there's part of the human self, like I said at the very beginning, this human self that functions like this ego mind, loops on things and just doesn't want any other information. And that's all being overturned right now. So we're going to feel and see and know that we are galactic citizens. And that's indeed the mantra. I am ready to become a galactic citizen, or I'm ready to acknowledge that I am a galactic citizen. I will share with you that when I had my light body activation in Tulum a couple of years ago, like right at this time, what like spontaneous things came out of my mouth. It was really phenomenal. And I did a video on it that like lots of people watched because it was so in the moment. And one of the things that happened was I kept saying, well, first I said, I am of the light. I am of the light. And then I said, I am married to the light, which was interesting. I don't know where that came from. And then I said, I am a galactic citizen. I don't know where that came from. And I'm a very 3D girl. I went to law school. You know that. You know, I have a Taurus rising. I live like with the material world. I'm very grounded. But that knowing came out of my soul. And you may, you know, there's others, some of you have cosmic bodies and you've known this for years and years. You've had contact already. Others of you have not known and it's not relevant to your world. But let's just say that in our collective consciousness, we are going to become aware of non-human beings and that we are galactic citizens. So yeah, let's end on the divine feminine. Let's say the last, I'll save the money transmission for another video. I think it's really worth diving into. But let's say for us now, what does all of this mean for the divine feminine spiritual leader? I think it's inside that sentence that the meaning occurs, and that is spiritual leadership. And we've been working with this concept of being a leader for quite a long time inside of my containers and the Divine Feminine Summit. We've activated archetypes. And what we've come to understand, and these are my words, you can put your own words, but that really leadership is this embodiment of our authentic self and standing in that and owning the authority of that, not over someone else, but as who I am. I'm owning my authority. I'm owning my voice. I'm owning where I'm standing. That is feminine embodied leadership. And so as a feminine leader, we need to know these things about the future. We need to see where we're going because we are the frequency holders, as we've said. Our context of who we are is going to get bigger. Our consciousness is going to expand. And it's going to be very rocky, very volatile, wobbly, intense, lots of freaking out. And we may be the ones freaking out, but then we'll regain our composure and we will remember our anchors, which is the breath and the pausing and our feet on the ground. And remember that we're here for it. Like there's no other reason. Like, why did you incarnate now? You could have incarnated, and you may have incarnated in many other iterations, but you decided now. So take that on as you have the capacity for whatever is coming forward, but not just that, you're also a weaver of that. You're responsible to bring what you know forward. And I don't mean know as an intellectual knowledge, but through your beingness, because that's weaving a new collective understanding. Read Gaia Codex if you're wanting to be inspired or if you're confused by this. If you're a member, you can go inside of our portal and we have a whole Gaia Codex training. It's from our book club. And then we talk to the author, Sarah Drew. So get yourself, like, bathe yourself in this. Because as leaders, we will lose the plot if we don't constantly keep ourselves connected to the possibility that we're living in this moment. It could be so easy to get carried away in just crazy mind thinking. And it happens every day to me, I'll say. So I want to say the last mantra, and that is, I am a feminine leader and I receive my sacred assignment from within. And the reason why I chose that is because our assignments are changing. They are morphing, they are upgrading. You are getting rid of old assignments. I hear it every single day. What used to light you up no longer lights you up. So new things are coming through, new awarenesses. And let me end by reassuring you that you don't have to arrive there in order to give it out. Because again, it's a vibration and a frequency. And the truth is that we're always in motion. So if you're waiting, you're holding back. And this is a living dynamic process that will only reveal itself to you in motion, in stillness and in action, in stillness and in action. So don't hold yourself back and move from that core place. That's a yoga, right? We have to live with these paradoxical opposites. And that's how we know it's a truth, because we are harmonizing these seeming opposites. All right, so that's that. Check out the other video. If you haven't downloaded the full moon, new moon intention setting guidebook for 2025, that is now available. We already had our last moon of 2024. And then in mid-January, we have the first full moon of 2025. So download that. It's completely free. I have keynotes, and then I also have statements. I have worked with these for years, and it has truly, over the years, expanded my feminine leadership concept, because I'm now more cyclical and more in tune with nature than I was before. So like, people are celebrating New Year's Day, but for me, that was the new moon. People were celebrating Christmas, but for me, that was the solstice. It just had more gravitas because I was connected to nature and the communication of the cosmos with my very being. So you can play with it however you want to play with it. I didn't decide to be that way. It's just what happened to me in the course of really taking on the intelligence of our cycles. So let's gather all the positive energy we have generated, just put it between your hands like liquid gold light, and then beam it out to all beings. This is a game changer year, sisters. This is like assignment A game is being called for right now. So let's beam it out to everyone, and may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. Thank you. Thank you.